security testing? Can you please raise the hands? Good. Now, let us take to the next one. This is called malicious files. For example, you have a feature to attach files, right? A feature to attach files. You take email system. Why should Gmail have an internal inbuilt scanning thing, right? Wherever you attach files, there is a threat. A file may be infected. You cannot expect everybody to have a proper antivirus system. If the file is attached and the file reaches the server, server must have scan mechanism, correct? If the server doesn't have scan mechanism, obviously if many people attach, take a typical job portal and everybody attaches the resume. How do you ensure that everybody's resume is 100% clean? You cannot expect that. So it is up to the server, wherever you are installing the software, that level you need to have an antivirus protection to ensure every attachment is scanned. So as a security tester, as part of security testing, what you need to do is attach good files, attach infected files. Your system should say, hey, this file is not allowed. This file is allowed. Another important thing, try to attach exe files, right? Or com files, .com files, or any file that executes, because attaching an executable file itself is a problem. Okay. So security testing, don't think that you are directly CBI. Okay. A security to the nation does not depend only on the people who are flying F-16 planes or MiG-25 planes. If we think that way, we are not doing the right justice. The basic security starts from the guy who is the security of your building. Okay. It starts from there. It goes from there all the way up to the people who are in the Air Force, who are in the Navy, who are including the satellites. So security testing, don't think it should always be hi-fi. It will always start from the base stuff. The base stuff is the authentication, authorization, then files, because files are the ones most of the times. Now let me ask you this question. How many of you are receiving emails from other friends with just one liner, open this attachment? How many of you receive that kind of an email? I could see many people raise the hands. And do you think it is a pain to you? Yes, because those guys have not got proper antivirus system into their machines, and those guys are infecting the entire internet. This is the problem. Especially in organizations where people are sending mails left, right and center. Malicious files, attaching executable files is a basic problem, headache every day. All it needs is one file. So attaching exe files, com files, any DLL files, right, and sending it to the other party, your application should stop. For example, if you have a bug tracking system and you are attaching a screenshot that is infected, what will you do? It's a problem. So malicious files and executable files is the next test. Then huge files. When I say a huge file, this is one of the basic security testing, right? Attach a file with 1 GB in size. How does it come under security testing? This means somebody is trying to enter with how many of you have seen when you cross a bridge, right? Someone has asked a question, as a tester, how are you going to get a malicious file? Yes. You need to have a separate directory in your system where you have to place infected files, and that directory must be excluded from scanning by your antivirus software, so they remain as infected files. Even if you scan your system, it will move an infected file to a separate folder, right? And try to attach that file, right? So that way you need to try to do. Otherwise, if you scan every file and then do it, is always clean. But you need to have a separate folder where files are infected. Ideally, take it from the directory or the trash can where your antivirus folder is showing that, right? How many of you have seen when you enter the bridge, it says maximum weight 10 tons for the trucks? Have you seen that? Can you please raise the hands? Good. Why should they do that? And just before that bridge, is anyone having any weighbridge? Nobody. And no policeman is going to stop also. Imagine a guy with 20 tons in the truck, a large truck, tries to enter that and nobody notices it. It is going to collapse the bridge. Same way for the lift also. Nobody is there as a policeman to stop you. But if you try to attach a very big file, what happens is that one user will take all bandwidth to upload, and your system will become slow, and he is going to stop all other guys. And if this guy starts filling up the disk, you are allowing someone to put trash in your system. So when someone is putting trash in your system, we are into deep trouble. So you should not, your system should say, again the system administrator will say, set limits for files. They will say maximum limit is 5 MB, maximum limit is 10 MB. If anything going beyond that. This is very important because, right, some people may classify this as a load test, but ideally huge files test, or say someone may call it as volume test also, right? But ideally huge files, this, like, remember this example, bridge, it displays a message saying that maximum 10 tons allowed. Anybody who is going beyond that, it is going to collapse this. So making sure that we need to get this out, right? So this is the basic thing, right, that people need to be aware of it. Now, once you set the limit, your system should not allow any files beyond that limit. This is the basic things with the files, because most of the times, especially job portals, tender placements, files are the ones that are causing problems, because file also come with infection, right? Now, having said this, the next level of security testing is SQL injection. Okay. Again, I can pass this notepad to all the attendants. Okay, so you don't have to change people, because people are asking me to scroll up to take the notes. Okay. Someone is asking, can we put limits to our personal mail IDs? I am not sure, but every company at their Exchange server, Outlook server, they will definitely say they will put the limits, right? They will definitely put, because this is one of the basic problem that every company is facing. Okay. Now, I think someone has said 250 MB is the Gmail's limit. So if you keep on attaching more than that, then it will have a problem. Someone has to warn. SQL injection. Okay, someone is sending mail saying that can we talk about encryption, everything. Yeah, it is coming a little bit later. I think the webinar is up to 5:30. We are at the halfway through limit, right? Right now it is 4:47. So we talk about a few topics before we come to encryption, proxy, firewalls, etc. And there is a penetration testing that will be towards the end. Okay. Now SQL injection. What is this? Single quote. This is a problem maker. A problem creator is single quote. Why is this? Why is the single quote a problem? Because you take a simple example. Usually, I'm not sure how many people are having proper programming background in this crowd, but let me take a very simple example. You are giving user ID and password into the front end screen. Then that is taken from the screen, it is going to the back end, say let us say Java servlet or somewhere else. They will say, for example, you have given the user ID and that is stored in VUID, right? Assume there's a variable called VUID and there is a variable called vPassword. So the user ID and password that you supplied on the screen are taken into this one. Now actually inside the code they will say select, right? Something like select star from let us say user underscore master, where user ID equal to, right? They will say, again it will be having some single quotes plus symbol, single quotes, right? And VUID, because this plus symbol, all these things, for example up to this thing is static text, right? Then this is a concatenation operator. Then they will have VUID, then and password equal to, right, plus PWD. Okay. So they will code like this. Now the problem here is, because inside the Java program this is the SQL statement, then they are concatenating the value of UID, then they are concatenating this, then they are concatenating this. Now assume that in the screen I am giving VUserID as XYZ, password as ABC, right? In this case how will it translate? It will translate like this. No problem. It will become XYZ and it will become ABC, right? Not an issue. This will become a proper string. So it will work. Look at this. There is a single quote here. There's a single quote here. It is matching. There's a single quote here. It is matching. Every single quote is matching. So it becomes a proper string. It works. And somebody purposefully sends a value XY single quotes Z. What will happen? When it goes here, it will put an extra single quotes over here. Now this is not a valid string. There is one extra single quotes which is not matching. A concatenation doesn't happen. Again, people who do not have programming background may not be able to understand this fully, but you can still see a single quote will give problem to the string concatenation issue. Now once this is done, first possibility is the SQL statement will fail, because since it is not a valid thing, it will throw an exception. Your Java will say this is not a proper SQL statement, and when it tries to execute this in SQL or MySQL or Oracle, it will throw an error. If the SQL statement fails, obviously you will never be in a position to log in. But the problem is this user doesn't want to log in but purposefully tries to give exception in your system. When you throw an exception, what happens is it tries to crash something. The Java servlet may crash, the bean may crash. If the exception is not properly handled, the first problem is if exception is not properly handled, it leads to crash. If it is crashing again and again, the problem is it will throw alerts to your system manager. Hey, something is crashing, something is crashing. They have to come to the system and then see what is crashing. Why is it crashing? Purposefully, it is like somebody purposefully throwing stones at your windows. You are sleeping and somebody is purposefully throwing a stone at the doors. It is disturbing you. And every time you wake up, you go out, see nobody is there. You are coming back. Again he throws the stone. It is a disturbance. It is a disturbance to the system. Second thing, this is more dangerous. Now, purposefully I am assume that I know some SQL programming. Okay, assume that I know some SQL programming, right? And I purposefully write a, rather than giving only a single quotes, I am going to say single quotes followed by a semicolon, right? Delete from user underscore master. Again, by some reason, if I know your, most of the time, what is the SQL table name Facebook uses, we don't know. What is the table name Gmail uses for its user master, we don't know. But you can guess, suppose you come to know that. If somebody steals the information that way, what will happen is you send this way. And this entire thing will come over here. Instead of this portion, this will appear. Look at this now. Just watch very, very closely. From this portion up to this portion, it's a valid string. Semicolon is a valid separator for SQL. Up to this portion is a valid string. So this SQL statement will execute. Look at this. What happens? User ID is existing but password is wrong. It will allow you inside the system. That's a problem. What is the previous condition? Where user ID equal to this and password equal to this. Now you are simply making the SQL statement to check only for the user ID, where user ID equal to this. And once this execution of statement finishes, this statement also executes. When this statement executes, if the table name accidentally is the same, you are in trouble. It will delete all the users from the table. That's a problem. And how many of you have seen the news? Again, user ID and passwords from Sony is taken, PlayStation is taken, especially in the last quarter. Have you seen that? Around 300,000 BlackBerry users data is stolen, right? They are off the network. Why all these things happen? Because somehow, some field, people fail to check this SQL injection. So people either damaged this thing, right? Again, I simply gave delete statement. If somebody gives drop table, the table itself may be deleted, removed, not the records. Or I purposefully put a SQL stored procedure syntax, right? That's a problem. So we can never guess when is it going to get attacked. So SQL injection is very, very dangerous. Every text box we must test for single quotes followed by a semicolon followed by a proper SQL statement. If that executes, we are into trouble. We can be hacked. Our database can be stolen or our database can be tampered. This is called SQL injection. That means from the screen somebody is injecting a bad SQL statement to our system, and our security measures in the system is not checking it. We land into trouble. Is this clear? Okay. Someone is asking, will this will happen only in text boxes? Yes, most of the times. Yes, 99% of the times, text boxes where we don't check the single quotes, that's a problem, right? So from front end, in your screen, you have to enter the single quotes, see if it is crashing, if an exception is thrown. See, you try to give some delete statement or whatever, see what is happening, right? This is how we need to test it again. And every text box must be tested for this, right? Now, the next part is JavaScript injection. JavaScript injection. When I say JavaScript injection, obviously most of the browsers are now JS enabled, right? In a text box, suppose I can say script, then I have got something called a slash script, right? Inside this I have got some JS code. Especially in a text box, someone has asked, can all these things injections happen in big applications? Yes. We are talking about Twitter being hacked, Facebook being hacked, right? Hotmail being hacked. Thief can come to anybody's house. It doesn't matter, right? Bad people are always there. All it needs is one crooked guy to get into the system. They always try to target big systems because they get famous, right? Attacking a small application is not going to give them a fame and name. So they always try to break some big guy, so they get name and fame in their world, right? In their underworld. So every system is vulnerable, provided you test it again and again. Now, in a text box, especially in a web-based application, right? In web-based application, if somebody is saying script slash script JavaScript code, what can it do? It can simply infinitely execute something, or it can simply say something like document.write, right? I may not be writing the right syntax, but document.write, and then send it to some bad content, okay? And it is redirecting to some other site. So what will happen? When this happens, ideally your system, this should take it as a normal data and then save in database. So your application will take this data from the screen and save it in the database. I am saying in a text box, somebody is entering like this, or somebody is putting an infinite loop over here, and it is taken, it is saved in the database. Next time you try to view the same data, same screen, what will happen? This data will come from backend to browser. This is the problem. SQL injection will give problem right at the time of giving, right? Whereas JavaScript, it will not give trouble at the time of saving. You save it, next time you try to view the same thing. At that point of time, the data, this particular data, comes from the backend, and your browser, unfortunately, if it treats this as a pure JavaScript rather than content, right, it will try to, your browser will execute whatever you have supplied. This is a problem. This is a big problem, right? When you are doing such things, at the time of rendering back in the UI, at the time of rendering, if browser treats this as JS and not data, that's a problem. Then how how the programmer should do this? Whenever the programmers are getting these things, they should not store this as this way. They will always use escape sequence, something like backslash greater than, backslash less than, or they will encode it with say ampersand GT, ampersand less than, something like that, so that your browser will interpret it as data and not as a code. JavaScript injection will always do to something called cross-site scripting. This is also known as XSS. Cross-site scripting meaning you put a JavaScript code that takes you to some bad site, right? You are in one domain, for example, I am accessing helloworld.com, something like that, okay? And somebody injected a JavaScript code, and when it comes back, it is redirecting you to some other bad site, because most of the times the viruses will take to the pornographic sites which are banned in organizations. They will take you to the bad site, but you may not be aware. You will be simply seeing that you are clicking, you are rendering the UI, but it will take you to a different site, and that site is a banned site. That's a problem. So cross-site scripting is also closely related to JavaScript injection. It happens through the UI. Is this concept clear to you? Right? Can you please raise the hands? Good. Okay. Nice. Someone is asking, will JavaScript injection happen only for websites? Most of the times, because in a Windows .NET application we may not be in a position to execute a JavaScript. We may not execute JavaScript. So and in fact one person asked, we haven't discussed how to overcome the SQL injection. No, this is not a session to give a solution how we will come out. Here what we are talking about, how will you test it, right? You go to the screen, give a script/script code, see what happens. In your screen as a tester, you go give single quotes, semicolon followed by something. So here we are not trying to discuss the solution for all these problems. Okay, I would say that's a developer's job. Okay, fine. Now